Welcome to the 700 Club. You know, I believe in miracles, and the Donald needs one. He's got to turn around. He's trailing in the polls, and top Republicans are telling him to get back in the race, he has to keep his focus on Hillary Clinton.
Those warnings come after Trump has gone from one controversy to another, and even the head of the Republican Party has stepped in. Caitlin Burke brings us the story.
GOP leaders have a message for their candidate. Get it together fast.
You have one person to attack, Hillary Clinton. Don't run against the world.
He has got to find a way to slow down, really learn some new lessons. I mean, this is a little bit like The Apprentice.
Those warnings come after a series of post-convention controversies for Trump, including his decision not to give a primary endorsement for House Speaker Paul Ryan or Senator John McCain, and his feud with the parents of a fallen Muslim American soldier. The continued missteps resulting in a phone call from the head of the RNC, Reince Priebus, who expressed frustration with the direction of Trump's campaign. Trump's camp sees the events of last week differently. Campaign chairman Paul Manafort telling Fox News that Trump's campaign is focused and moving forward. The candidate himself echoing those sentiments Wednesday at a rally in Florida.
The campaign is doing really well. It's never been so well united. Right now, it's the best in terms of being united that it's been since we began.
But Hillary Clinton is leading by up to 10 points in the polls after the recent Democratic convention and Trump's problems. And she's taking every opportunity she can get to slam her opponent.
I really would like him to explain why he paid Chinese workers to make Trump ties.
Still, there is some good news for Trump. His campaign brought in $80 million in July, helping him close the cash gap with Clinton. Trump still clearly has ground to make up in the polls, but with 3 months to go until voters cast their ballots, anything can still happen in this wild election year. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Listen, on this program, we're going to show you something maybe you haven't seen, because it'll all be together. We're going to analyze the foreign policy of Barack Obama during these 8 years he's been in office. And that's the thing that Hillary Clinton is going to continue. So if you like what you saw then that's what you're going to get with her. And we're going to show you instance after instance after instance. And I don't think it'll be a shock to anybody, but it'll be out there. We've got it on this program. As far as the Donald, he gets huge crowds. People are very enthusiastic. But boy, oh boy, oh boy. They used to say to candidates, you got to stay on message. When I was involved in some degree with the Bush Sr. when he was running against Dukakis. That's a long time ago, But anyhow, he would go to press conferences, and they would trip him up, and the next thing you know, he'd drop in the polls 2 or 3 points. Yeah. Okay. So his guy got to him and said, now listen, George, or your president, or Mr. Vice President, or whatever he was then, this is it. And we're going to give you 4x6 cards at the beginning of each day. And you don't say anything except what's written on those 4x6 cards.
Wow, that really happened.
It really happened. He was a sitting vice president, and they said, you don't take any ad lib questions. You don't go off message. This is the message, and it'll be the theme for the day. And all your surrogates around the country are going to echo that same theme, and it's going to be a united voice. Don't do anything else. So he said, okay. I mean, he's the vice president. Yeah. So he takes those cards, and every day he reads the cards. And he stands up before people, and he reads the cards. This is what, I'm for, jobs. I'm education.
He stayed on his points.
Well, but I mean, it was so scripted. I mean, tight talking points. And guess what? Instead of going down, he suddenly began to inch up and poll 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4. Next thing you know, he's up ahead of Dukakis, and then he won the election. But that's
because that's what people want.
They don't know any better, but that's what they.
Well, they want They want to hear about ideas, about policy.
That's right.
They're tired of all of this fighting.
Well, the Democrats have realized that they have nothing to talk about. They cannot run on the foreign policy. They certainly can't run on the economy with a 1.2% GDP growth. They can't run on employment. They can't run on Obamacare. They know that's a failure. So what are they going to do? They're going to attack Trump, and if Trump plays into their hand, then they've got him. And it's just crazy. I mean, they've set a trap for you, and you're going to walk into the trap and get caught. So we'll see what happens. But you'll find today's program, you don't want to miss it. Don't leave. In other news, a tragedy in London where an American woman has been killed in a stabbing spree. John Jessup has that story.
That's right, Pat. The victim was in her 60s and reportedly died on the scene, and 5 others were wounded in that stabbing spree. The London Express newspaper reports the attacker, who's now in police custody, was a 19-year-old Norwegian of Somali descent. Police suspect mental health may be a factor in the case and say there was no evidence of radicalization. The attacks took place in Russell Square in central London, a popular tourist destination, where one of the bombs was detonated in the terrorist attack on the city's transport system back on July 7th, 2005. Well, the Supreme Court says a Virginia school board can block a transgender student from using the boys' bathroom when school starts next month, at least for now. The High Court agreed to allow Gloucester County School Board to bar the student from the bathroom until the justices decide whether to review an appeals court ruling that sided with the student. The transgender student argued the policy violates federal education discrimination law. The school board does plan to ask the Supreme Court to review the case by the end of this month. Well, in health news, Americans are fatter than ever. A new report from the Centers for Disease Control says the average American has gained 15 pounds or more since the late 1980s. That, of course, has led to concerns about a growing number of future chronic diseases tied to obesity, like heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Pat, back to you.
Well, you know, yesterday I was shocked. We did a report, we had to do exercise, so yesterday afternoon, just to make sure I stayed on target, I did 130 sit-ups consecutively.
Wow.
And is that good?
That's fantastic. That's more than I do.
Come on.
That's a lot more than I do.
Well, you're Miss Fitness, but you just get on a machine, you just keep doing it. I mean, you just keep coming up, down, up, down.
Oh, so you do the ones on the machine?
Well, I put I lock my knees on it, on a little bench, but I mean, I go down, come up like a sit-up.
130?
Yeah.
86 years old, people, this is fantastic. Well done.
I'm working on 500. If Britney Spears can do 500, I can do 500. And that's the game. I'll keep you informed. I'll go for 200 next, and then up to 3. And
I think we need to send a camera out to videotape this.
Let's wait till I get them. Okay. But anyway, I got bored. I figured 130 I'll stop. But it wasn't because I was aching, because I could have done more. That was it.
Now I feel guilty. All right, we're going to have a contest.
You come back and tell me next time. Okay. John.
Pat, you're putting us all to shame. Well, one cause of the obesity epidemic in America is not only that we eat too much, it's that we often eat the wrong kinds of food. More than half of our calorie intake comes from what are known as ultra-processed foods. CBN's Lori Johnson tells us what they are and why they're so bad for our health.
Shocking research examining nearly 10,000 Americans reveals exactly how much of our diet is made up of so-called fake food. Nearly 60% of our daily calories come from ultra-processed foods, and of that, 20% is sugar. The study also shows Americans get less than 1% of their calories from vegetables. Ultra-processed foods contain about 5 times more added sugar than non-processed regular foods. In fact, almost all the added sugars we consume come from ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods are ones that have already been made, like frozen dinners, breakfast cereals, and snacks. We do nothing to prepare them, or in some cases, just very little. They contain a long list of mysterious ingredients that are difficult to visualize and pronounce. Health experts say the sugar in ultra-processed foods, as well as the hydrogenated oils, artificial additives, emulsifiers, and preservatives, lead to problems like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer.
The solution is gaining control over that food.
Michael Moss, who exposes the trade secrets of the food industry in his book Salt, Sugar, Fat, isn't surprised Americans keep coming back for more of these foods from the big companies.
They got big by making products that are utterly irresistible to people, both in taste but also ultra convenient that will sit on the shelf and be waiting for you when you're ready to eat them, and also incredibly low cost.
Don't feel bad if you can't stop eating or drinking these products. Moss says the food industry spares no expense engineering items that are addictive, foods that reach the pleasure pinnacle known as the bliss point. And not just taste, but even texture, something they call mouthfeel.
Those chips will compel you to eat more and more beyond what you should, and you'll go back for more bags and more bags.
Health experts say the solution is simple, but not easy. Just say no to delicious, cheap, and convenient ultra-processed foods and embrace whole foods, ones with no ingredient list that you'll find on the perimeter of the grocery store, and prepare from scratch at home. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Thanks, Lori. Pat, as Lori just said, just say no to those ultra-processed foods.
I don't eat that junk. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you have a price club in your town, and if you join it or something, some kind of a wholesale food thing, but go to them, get a big bag of frozen blueberries. Big bag. They have them at Price Club, big bag. And then they have these big cans or containers of mixed nuts. They're delicious. Sorry.
Like Sam's Club or what have you,
yeah,
maybe too?
Well, they have them there too, I imagine. But anyhow, Price Club is known for the big wholesale stuff. Okay, and you take some of those nuts and you take some of those berries, and then you can get a big container of Quaker oatmeal, which doesn't have any sugar in it, and you can put the oatmeal in there. And it makes a delicious, filling breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. And that's all you need.
Sounds amazing.
It's so simple.
I had my green drink this morning.
That's why you look.
I keep saying I'm going to bring it in and let you try it.
That's why you look so. Well, I had a green drink too. I have greens that are processed, little powder, and I put it in some orange juice.
It's pretty good too.